recently got a comment on my Swirling and the Quest for the Good Man video from a 49-year-old African American female who said to me that I should not be speaking on these issues because I am not a black woman and I don't understand what black women go through. Well, I say to that, malarkey. Why? Because I have a mother, I have a sister, I have a cousin, I have several aunts on my mother's side who are all single and who have all followed this dysfunctional life paradigm to the letter, and that's why I can make the statements that I make about this Afro-American Negro woman. I have sat down and talked to all of these women and learned that this intergenerational dysfunction has a root in this white feminist movement and these white liberal policies because many of these women grew up in the late 60s and the early 70s, and this is when they had their children, and this is when they got involved with these dysfunctional monkeys that, fathered most of us. So I can make a statement about black women because, again, I live around black women, I talk to black women, I have listened to all the things that they have said, regarding relationships, and I have observed and listened and did the research on this extensively. So I can make statements about this Afro American Negro woman, you know, because I understand the issue and I understand it wholeheartedly. I have not just sat there and listened to these Afro American women, I sat there and I listened to African American men. And when I compared both of the sets of information that I have received with the information I got from your own books, like your Terry McMillan's Waiting to Exhale, like your Little Mama's Rules written by Shaneska Jackson, like your nonfiction presented by um, many of your Afro-American female writers out here, I can come to an assessment about the dysfunction regarding this Afro-American female. And this is based, again, not just on my family's information, but from objective sources, and your own books and your own literature and your own art. So everything I say about black women comes from sources, and they come from a plethora of sources. This is why I can write an entire book saying why 70% of black women are single, because I have done the research and I understand why many of these Afro American women are single. And you can even go back to your own Bible and talk about why many of these Afro American women are single. And I understand the dysfunctional life paradigm that this Afro American woman follows. And that dysfunctional paradigm, again, starts with her relationship with God, which is completely dysfunctional. See, your Afro American woman thinks that she is going to be the leader and the head of the family. Now, God established the man to be the leader and the head of the family, but your Afro American woman, getting involved with these dysfunctional white feminists, thought that she could take the position of the head of the family. And with the help of the white liberals in government, she was allowed to take the economic position of head of the family through these welfare programs, these government jobs, and these government grants for education. She was able to take a de facto position as the head of the family and the economic leader of the Afro-American family. And the liberal allowed this to happen because he wanted to get control of the Afro-American economy. That was his primary reason for allowing the black woman to get what she has right now, because he knew that your Afro-American woman is a consumer, and because she's a consumer, she will go out and spend money, and she spends money not with Afro-American businesses. No, she spends most of her money with the Arab guy at the grocery store, the Korean at the nail salon, the Korean for the hair weave, the beauty supply store. She spends money with the white folks at the supermarket. She spends money at the Hispanics at the bodega. And she makes everybody rich off of her $3.3 trillion in cash and credit. And your Negro pastor gets 10% off the top. This is why your Negro pastor won't say anything about any of these issues, because he's also complicit in them. And this is what happened in your Afro-American, community. And because this happened in your Afro-American community, your Afro-American woman believes that she has power. And this is why she believes that she can go out here and, make a man be the way she wants him to be. And this is where the whole thing is, that this is what she thinks. And this is the way her mind operates. She thinks she's going to take a man and make him submissive under her. This is why she likes to go and get these dysfunctional monkeys like these thugs and these dope dealers, and she'll sit there and get involved with these type of guys because she believes that she can manipulate this man, control this man, and make this man into the man of her dreams. And that's just not going to happen in God's natural order. If we go to God's natural order, who is the head of the family? The man is the head of the family. Who was the leader that God established? God established the man to be the leader on his earth. And the only community where where your man is placed in a submissive role is your Afro-American Negro community. It's the only place in the world where your man is placed in a beta position and the woman dictates to the man. If we go to any other community, your Arab community, your Hispanic community, your Asian community, your white community, the men are pretty much the leaders and the head of the family. And because the man in these communities is the leader and the head of the family, those communities function properly because they're following God's natural order. But your Christian Afro-American Negro woman will insist that her community is functioning properly. She is in such denial about her community. She refuses to see that it's out of order. And the reason why it's out of order, again, has to do with her insistence on being the leader. She's going to take this man, this dusty Negro, this thug, this bum, and she's going to clean him up and, make him into something. And she enabled this Negro's dysfunction. And I can agree with David Carroll on that point. Because I went to high school with a lot of these guys. And while these guys were selling crack rocks to their own people, they were taking these sisters and, buying them Reebok, what do they call it? Reebok Freestyles, Air Jordan sneakers, and Gucci bags, and triple fat gooses, and, taking them on shopping sprees. This is what these dysfunctional Negroes did. And while this Negro was doing this, she was out here going to college, because I went to college with quite a few of them, and getting her degree, then getting this corporate job. And while she was working the corporate job, this Negro, he was in and out of jail, getting arrested again and again for fist fighting some other idiot, or getting caught with the crack rocks in his fitted cap, or all over. And while she was bailing him out of jail, and she eventually he got a bid or something, and she got some kids by this guy. And when she got the kids by this idiot, she decides while he's doing an 8 to 15-year-old bid, she's going to go out on the quest for this good brother. And what happened was there weren't a lot of good brothers. A lot of the brothers, they had already gotten married, they had already started families, and they had pretty much, moved on. And here she is at 25, 30 years old, talking about she wants a good man. Now, this was during the 90s, during the Wait and Exhale period. They were doing this stuff, talking about, I want a good man, there's a shortage. There were no shortage of good brothers out there. The problem is many of these Afro-American Negro women just never understood is that there's always been 4 women for every 1 man, and there's always been, this discrepancy always. And, there hasn't been a shortage of good men. You just spent the best parts of your lifetime, the early years of your time, dealing with these dysfunctional shines and these dysfunctional monkeys. And many smart men like myself were just sitting there going, I'm not dealing with her because I don't want to deal with this monkey. I mean, sooner or later, she's going to try to bring, Curious George to my home or around my family. I don't want to have to deal with him getting my home shot up or getting my family, attacked because she wants to keep this monkey around because she's going to come to me with some stupid statement such as, kids got to see their father, his father needs to be in his life. It's like, I don't want to deal with that. Any decent guy is going to sit there and say, I don't want to deal with this monkey. I don't want to deal with her, and I don't want to deal with this monkey. I don't care about the 65-inch rear end. I don't care about the double Ds. I don't care about that. I care about my health and my safety. That's what I put first. And any decent thinking man is going to say that. It's like, I don't want to deal with her. I don't want to deal with this guy who's been in and out of jail. I don't want to deal with somebody else's kids. And that's why a lot of these guys, left a lot of these Afro-American Negro women alone because they know that it's a package deal dealing with a lot of these Afro-American women because they're going to try to find a way to bring this shine bone into the home. They're going to try to find some way to bring it, and they expect the decent guy to be a Cleveland Brown and sit there and put up with all of this nonsense. And most regular men are just not going to put up with it. I mean, I live in the South Bronx, and I've seen quite a few men get themselves killed because this female wants to continue to bring shine bone around, you know, and have him and the decent man, and have the decent man take care of all of them, and he's just supposed to sit there and put up with it like Cleveland Brown. And this is what they expect you to believe because this is what happens. I mean, I remember the first time I heard of this, I was about 9 years old. I remember I was watching the news, and I watched the news, and this dysfunctional female, these two guys are fighting over, and one of them gets killed because the other one, the woman had him around her kids, and I thought I saw that at 9 years old, and that was like one of my first critical thinking moments. I said, this is why you don't get involved with a single mom. And this is what happens when you deal with many of these Negro women. They mess themselves up early on. Then when they get to their 20s and their 30s and they start, growing and start getting promotions and start moving their lives forward, they start looking at this Negro and realize, this Negro is not going to change. This Negro is pretty much going to be what he is. And when they reach that point, then they want to come out talking about how they want to get a good man, how they want to have a relationship with a good man. But you bring nothing to the table for a man of character at all. When a man of character looks at this Negro woman and he looks at the big picture regarding her, he says to himself, why would I want to deal with this female who, she might have a six-figure job, she might have multiple degrees, but she's not ready to be a helpmeet to me. She cannot help me in any way, shape, or form. She wants me to help her, but I'm the head of the family. I'm the leader. I'm looking for somebody who wants to help me. I'm looking for somebody to help me build my family and my legacy. And you want me to, be the janitor and clean up a mess that you made of your own life. And that's what many of these Afro-American women believe. They believe that the man is supposed to be there to serve her. The man is supposed to be there to follow her. And because she got a few, shine bones to follow her back in the day, she thinks at 30, 35 that men are still going to sit there and follow her. No, the men who have worked towards building themselves up are looking for someone who's going to follow their lead and somebody who's going to follow them under God's natural order. And they're looking for somebody who's going to help them build something. They're not looking to clean up a mess. They're looking to, lay a foundation that allows them to build on something that they can give to their children. And because these Negro women have a backwards way of thinking from day one, they wind up, behind the eight ball. And they think that a guy is going to come in and take this package deal, that's a good man. They think the guy who's going to sit there and be the Pullman porter and the garbage man, sweeping up a mess that some other dysfunctional monkey has made is a good man. No, that's not a good man. That's a simp. And most guys who have any common sense in their heads are not going to be simps. And they're not going to sit there and be in that submissive position to this Afro-American Negro female. And this is something that just these Afro-American females, they refuse to process. It's like when I made the video talking about swirling in the quest for the good man, some of them got upset and said I couldn't watch no more than 10 minutes of it. The reason why they couldn't watch more than 10 minutes of it is because it was making their heads explode with ideas that actually make sense. And that's why they couldn't watch it, because their brains could not process it. I remember when I wrote the Why 70% of Black Women Are Single blog, and many of these Afro-American women, they got upset because I was pretty much presenting the truth to them, and they could not handle the truth. Their brains literally could not absorb the information I was presenting to them. And all I was doing, again, based on my own observations, based on my own research, based on my own information, and based on books that many of these Afro-American women wrote, like your Terry McMillan and Her Waiting to Exhale, your Trisha R. Thomas and Napoli Ever After, and Taming It Down, which, was one of those swirling books. And I took their own information to make that blog, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single. And I took interviews that I took with my own family to also do that research because I understand this dysfunction, you know, backwards and forwards. And when I wrote the book, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single, I also, came from research and came from information. And I also came from things that I saw regarding this dysfunctional Afro American woman. I understand why many of these Afro American women are single. And I understand, this new dysfunctional trend of swirling. What's happened here now again is that many of these Afro American women have dealt with these shine bones, dealt with these monkeys, and now they are 35, 36, 37, 38 years old, and they're realizing that this shine that they got involved with, pretty much, is what he's, again, like I said before, it's going to be what he's going to be. This shine is stuck in a mental age of about 13 or 14 years old. He's the best he can do is play Xbox. The best he can do is have YouTube beefs and Facebook wars and go back and forth with people. That's the best this monkey can do. You can't ask this monkey to go any further. He's like a retarded child. And that's all he can do. He cannot go outside and, go out here and go try to find a job. He cannot, he doesn't even have the backbone or the capacity to even think about starting a business. He doesn't have that mental capacity whatsoever. He's a complete idiot. And, there's nothing anyone can do. And what many of these women realize is that they're going to be taking care of this monkey until old age. And what they want to do is they want to take this silverback, put him in a zoo, and then go try to find himself a white dude who they believe will be the garbage man. Well, that's not going to happen either. Why? Again, the numbers just don't add up. You have 4 women for every 1 man. And you have to, and in God's natural order, the woman has to show how she is going to help and support the man. So no man is going to sit there and be the garbage man for any of these females, whether he be black, white, Hispanic, or Asian. Again, the man is looking for someone who's going to help him build a family, help him take some ownership. Now, these guys will go out and have these women for fun, and they'll treat them like side pieces, but that's just about absolutely all it's going to be. These women are not marriage material, and this is the sad part that many of these Afro-American women just don't understand. They follow these white feminists down a road where they are now stuck going nowhere. They're stuck in a ditch listening to these white feminists, because if you even look at the white feminists, they're also in a ditch. Many of them have been divorced and dropped and then pumped and dumped. That's what's happened to them, because none of these women follow the natural order. But it looks a lot worse in the Afro-American Negro community, because it is worse in the Afro-American Negro community. Negro women follow this white feminist to the letter, not understanding that many of the white feminists, they can go out and get your man, and they can also go out and get foreign men as well. Because, again, white female is at the top of the food chain, Negro female is at the bottom. And that was proven by your Dr. Satoshi Kanzanawa about 2 years ago when he made the article talking about the most desirable woman on the planet. He said that the white woman is the most desirable, and the African American Negro woman is the least desirable. Now, it hurts to hear all of this, but many of these Afro American women, they just can't process this type of information. I mean, what they come to me with this shaming language, talking about, you can't speak on black women's issues. But again, I'm a man who has experienced all this, has lived among women, has had relationships with other women, and, has worked among women. So I can't speak on these issues. And as a man who's supposed to be the one who proposes marriage, you would think you want to hear from another man. But in the case of many of your Afro-American Negro women, they don't want to hear from an African American man. They don't want to hear from the man who has to save up 2 months of his salary to propose to this woman. They don't want to hear from the guy who has to feel that this woman has so much of a value that he is willing to marry her. No, they don't want to hear from him. What they want to hear is from a chump like Steve Harvey, who tells them what they want to hear, that there's some Prince Charming out here who's going to come out here, on his white horse and come and save them. Or they want to hear from some crystalline Kharazim who is telling them again that there's a guy on a white horse who's going to come out and save them. They don't want to hear the whole cold, harsh truth about why 70% of these women are single, why 70% of these women can't find a man who is willing to marry them, and they don't want to hear from a man who's going to tell them the truth that, this decon scheme of swirling is going to leave them just as single as they were before. That's all I have to say for this video. You can pick up Why 70% of Black Women on Amazon.com. I will leave a link in the description box. And you can comment, rate, and subscribe.